Golden Parade that the whole world is waiting for. Today we have on board more than 400 journalists and editors, in addition to news agencies, in order to cover this unique event that will not be recorded except on the land of Egypt. As you can actually watch the elements of the parade. They are taking their positions in order to allow the passing of the 22 royal mummies of our great grandparents. It will start from Tahrir Square and it will pass until Al-Alam Street, and we will watch the Tahrir Square in its new image after the facelifting until it reaches the National Civilization Museum. Most of those royal mummies that will be transferred had been discovered in 2 caches in Luxor, one in the Deir al-Bahri and the other cache in the Valley of Kings. In 1882, they discovered the cache of the Deir al-Bahri. The second cache had been discovered in 1892 in the Valley of Kings, which included Amenhotep II tomb. Today we want to learn more about those kings and queens. We have 18 kings and 4 queens, and on top of who Seknera mummy who launched the liberation war against the Hyksos before Ahmes continued his march, and he continued his war against the Hyksos until they called him the conqueror of Hyksos. King Seknera is the one who established the modern state, to which it belongs all of the 22 kings and queens. Ahmos Nefertari is the sanctity or the goddess wife of Amun, and she continued to be sanctified until she died, and also Amenhotep I. The next mummy is very well known and prominent. Nobody goes to Luxor except they visit Al-Deir al-Bahari, encompassing Hatshepsut Temple, which is an artistic miracle by all means. Maybe many don't know that Hatshepsut as a queen was really interested in trips, especially to country. Maybe we can't believe that this parade, including all of those queens and kings, is a miracle that cannot be repeated worldwide. However, it is taking place on the territory of Egypt. The parade is huge, and it's going to continue dazzling us. There is a mummy of Thutmose III, who is strong and courageous, who stands as one of the most rulers of Egypt due to his military geniusness as well as military excellence. We also have on board 2 mummies that we have to elaborate on concurrently: Amenhotep III as well as wife, the royal wife of Amenhotep. He was really interested in building temples, and Egypt under his reign lived in prosperity. Queen T gave birth to Echnaton. As for the next mummy is Thutmose IV, which has a very strange story, that Thutmose IV saw a dream about the Sphinx, and he requested that Amenhotep unveils the sand of his body, and he promised him to give him back a reward to mount the throne of Egypt. And the dream came true, and he really ruled Egypt. That's why the Thutmose IV wrote down this story until a palette that is installed on the Sphinx in Giza. Truly, it's an impressive parade that provides us with awesome, it's the sense of history. We are still here with you, with the ancient kings and queens, waiting for this awesome scene, and also we shall continue dazzling the whole world. We have a large number of mummies, including Seti I, the one who owns the most beautiful tomb in the Valley of Kings. It is engraved. It is engraved in the best fashion. It's the best testimony to the excellence of the Egyptian artists in the modern state. The parade includes also two of the most famous mummies, Ramses II and Ramses III. Ramses II is the glory king who ruled Egypt for about 67 years, succeeding Seti I. Ramses II concluded the first peace treaty signed in the history of humanity, and we can't actually overlook his glorious temple in Abu Simbel, while people always are watching the solar alignment into his sanctuary statues. The temple from inside is engraved and inscribed with the Kaddish battle. The Ramses III was the second of the 20th dynasty. He was one of the most important kings. He was able to protect Egypt against the invasion of nations of the sea, and he built one of the most important temples that is complete, and it is most beautiful as well. Standing here in front of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square, this is the springboard of the journey of the mummies, our ancestors. We live reality and dream at the same time. The golden journey is started in Luxor, taking miles and miles for thousands of years. And today we are actually anticipating the completion of this journey to the Egyptian National Museum of Civilizations, where they are going to rest forever. And the museum is going to receive the visitors in order to watch our greatness and the strength of our grandparents. It's a long journey. It's a long-standing civilization. We have more kings and queens that will be highlighted further the minute they arrive here, and the golden journey is going to start from Tahrir in order to reach the Museum of Civilization in Al Fustat. Egypt and history are twins that are similar in all aspects. Egypt is the cradle of civilizations. In Egypt, it was the nascent of history. Our story is the story of great civilization that sustains, and it will never be repeated, that started on the banks of Nile. It's the source of goodness since so many years. It's one of the greatest and oldest human civilizations that developed and advanced, and it stood resilient in the face of time. Our viewers worldwide, I would like to welcome you to the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization that will be inaugurated by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in order to receive 22 kings and queens, the mummies of them.
Us around the world to follow the huge Pharaohs Golden Parade. Kindly be noted that the Arabic language is available on Audio Channel 1. For English, kindly check Audio Channel 2, and the French is available on Audio Channel 3. Chers téléspectateurs du monde entier, afin de poursuivre le programme de l'événement de la Parade dorée en arabe, merci de choisir la chaîne Audio 1. Pour la langue anglaise, la chaîne Audio 2. Et pour la langue française, le français, la chaîne Audio 3. ما في شك أبداً.
There's no doubt that the reason of sustaining this Egyptian civilization that we received it. Until to date, it impresses worldwide that, and the foundation of this is respecting the value. The Egyptian human being, the creator and constructor of this civilization, because he was resilient, steadfasting, resilient belief and tolerance. The Egyptian National Museum for Civilization encompasses multiple civilizations, and visiting the museum will be a real opportunity for all the visitors in order to explore several secrets of the achievements of the Egyptian person since the dawn of history until today.
المركزي واللي بتركز على
that focuses on the most important achievements of Egyptian civilization throughout the ages, starting with the prehistory, passing by ancient Egyptian, Greco-Roman, Islamic, and reaching contemporary times. This whole is very important because the mummy's whole is very important because it gives you the feeling that you have traveled through time. The Valley of Kings, to the Valley of Kings. Our dear viewers throughout the world, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is right now arriving to the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Fustat to start the inauguration ceremony of the museum. In a little while, the parade is about to start. His Excellency Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, His Excellency Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Khaled Al-Anani, and Mr. Azurab Ashgolili, the Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization, as well as Mrs. Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, will also be part of the reception.
السيدة أودري أوزولي السيد زغاب كولش كابيني سكرتير عام منظمة السياحة العالمية. وإن شاء الله يكون عند حسن.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for taking part in the event. Over 60 countries of the world are watching.
بعد إذن حضرتك كنت وجهت بإنشاء مصنع للمستنسخات الأثرية. تم افتتاحه يوم السبت الماضي، ودي قطعة نموذج لتوت عنخ آمون.
This is a prototype of Tutankhamun hunting. It has the symboling of killing evil to establish a strong state. For the first time in Egypt, we have online reservation through online platforms, and this is the bazaar for the museum. This is a 3-story building. It has a theater, a cinema, a lecture hall, restaurants, cafeterias, museum education classes, interpreting booths. Now we are leaving this building, heading to the main building of the museum. Here is the place where tickets are bought. Here we are in Al Fustat, the first capital of the first Islamic capital in Africa. Here we are heading to the museum. There is a training center, and here we have the temporary display hall that was inaugurated in 2017. Now we are going to the central display hall. Of course, the design was considered deeply to fit an international event like this. Today, Your Excellency will inaugurate 2 main halls. One of the halls covers prehistoric times up till today, and here there is a simulation of the afterlife, because this will be the mummies display hall. And it will also include some of the artifacts discovered in the relevant tombs. The central hall is open to the public. It's 2,300 square meters. Of course, civilization museums are not only about artifacts, they are all about interaction as well, and this is why we have used modern technology. Here, this is the part that separates this life from the afterlife, where the mummies will be displayed, and this is why the event that the whole world is waiting for. And here we have images of the Valley of the Kings, as if we're going into the tomb itself in West Luxor. And these are some of the amulets and artifacts that have been discovered there. As for the central hall, we walk in it anti-clockwise, and we could go back to prehistoric times. One of the oldest skeletons found in the world was in Egypt. It was over 30,000 years old, found in Sohag. Also, there is a simulation of the caves where people lived at that time, and there are themes of motherhood, writing, armies, tourism. So to the right, we have the part that has to do with the ancient Egyptian, and then we move on to Greco-Roman, Coptic, Islamic times. And here we find Khonsu, the Egyptian god, and a Greco-Roman god. Greek pillars used in the Coptic era. Here we find Islamic symbols. Here we find artifacts relevant to Khedive Ismail, the clothes of peasants in the 50s and 60s. So, if Your Excellency would allow me, we're going to have a quick tour.
ده باب خشب في الوش عمره أكتر من
This is over 4,000 years old. Here, this skeleton is over 30,000 years old. It was discovered in 1980 in Sohag Governorate. Here, all the displays include the Naqada civilization, 3000 BC, pottery, axe, ropes, and here we find how peasants used to measure agricultural lands, measuring angles, and this is the genius architect of Queen Hatshepsut. Here we have the theme of motherhood in ancient Egypt. Here we have Ankh, Jad. All of these are ancient Egyptian symbols. And here we can find ancient Egyptian artifacts followed by Greco-Roman, Coptic, and Islamic, and so on. Here we find fabrics, how they have actually gods and goddesses for fabrics and textiles. Here, all those who were working in the workshop were women. Here we find linen from ancient Egypt. These are women wearing colored clothes. Here, this is the theme of writing. We find the beginning of hieroglyphics and so on. Here we have mathematics. Here we have Jehuti, the god for mathematics and knowledge. The kinds of writing are displayed. Here we have a funerary tent. It's over 3,000 years old, used in the funerary procession. Here is it is the chair of the Queen Mother to Cheops. And here we have Thutmose III, the greatest fighter of the ancient world. Here are the components of a tomb that was discovered in 1886, in its full glory in 1886. And we have this statue from San al-Hajar, a great statue for the goddess Hathor protecting Basmatic. This is Akhenaten, the first Unitarian in history. And here he unified all gods in the 18th dynasty. These are interactive screens through which we can display who is this god. And here we have Ma'at, the universal order, the cornerstone of the ancient Egyptian civilization. The Egyptian king main mandate was to establish Ma'at on earth. All these are pieces that tell us how the military wheel was used. A set of astounding jewelry over 4,000 years ago from Hawara in Al-Fayoum Governorate. Amazing. And I've been told that great fashion houses could actually, from nowadays, could actually learn from these pieces. Music, harp, musicians, women, makeup and cosmetics, goddesses of Egypt, also shores, the Nile. Those were some of the pillars of Egyptian civilization. Here we have a prosthetic a prosthetic of leather over 3,000 years old. And here we tell people how this was manufactured and how it was put on. Amenhotep, the god of medicine. Here we have like a capsule of ancient Egyptian civilization. Watches, there are two kinds of watches, the water watch, the solar watch, and also we have scales to calculate everything. And then we go back to the late eras, Greco-Roman times. The beauty of Egypt is here in these three displays. Here we have Greco-Roman papyri and coins, also Coptic textiles and Byzantine textiles, and then Islamic coins and textiles. This is a sarcophagus that was regained from the Metropolitan Museum in the USA in 1919. In 2019, sorry, and of course we were very pleased with this step. We hope that all museums that have Egyptian artifacts would follow suit. Here we have the Islamic times. We have a part of an Islamic style window or mashrabiyya, and here this part represents the Egyptian culture. Here we have a building from the Oasis and an Old Testament box, a Torah box, followed by Islamic style glasses, vases, faience, and here this is a piece from Abu Bakr al-Muzhar, and we brought it here to be displayed properly. The Islamic style doors from the Mamluk era, boxes for Quran, and here we have Khidivi Ismail, Talat Harb, portrait for Muhammad Ali, King Fuad I. We have miniatures of the Egyptian civilizations. Sabil, where people drank, Al-Kutab, where young students learned. And here this piece goes back to Abbas Hilmi II, including Al-Mahmal, which is the cloth that beautifies Al-Kaaba. Here, this is the key to the Kaaba and its enclosure. Here we have Mahallawi jugs, the costumes of Egyptian peasants from Siwa, from the Bedouin areas, and they are holding hands. Of course, we're very proud of this heritage. Here, this is the pottery manufactured in Fustat up till now. These are miniatures starting from Zainab Khatun to Sultan Hassan to Dr. Hassan Fathi's work, Ramses Suisa Wasif, and the great artist Mahmoud Mukhtar. So, in a capsule, we try to display what Egyptian civilization has been like since prehistoric times. It will be open to the public as of tomorrow. And here starts our surprise, the whole of the mummies. And I hope that this will be a very good step for the awareness of our future generations of their great civilization.
Our dear viewers worldwide, we are still We lost sound. Sorry for the interpretation. We lost the sound. We lost the sound.
لكن هنا
However, here in the National Museum for Egyptian Civilization, they will be displayed for all visitors from everywhere worldwide in a fashion befitting their status, using the modern techniques that will preserve their monumental state. Today, in order to be up to the responsibilities, we, the ancestors of the pharaohs, we have to continue the journey of our grandparents. We have to continue their legendary and heritage. We have to preserve them. We have to protect them, because this is our history and our civilization, which is until this moment dazzles and impresses the whole world. Indeed, His Excellency the President took his tour in one of the most important halls in the museum, which is the Central Hall, where he toured around many of the rare historical monuments that are showcased in the Egyptian Civilization National Museum in Fustat. The museum lies in Al Fustat city, and I would like to elaborate further on this city, which is also one of the most important monumental sites and oldest. Al Fustat city was set up by Amr ibn al-As in 640, which is the first capital in the Islamic era, in the center of Cairo, which by the road to the pyramids, which actually encompasses so many edifices such as the Hanging Church and the Jewish Ben Azra synagogue, and all of those monumental landmarks will be coupled with the Egyptian Civilization National Committee, which is very important because it encompasses all the richness of the Egyptian civilization throughout the eras, starting from prehistory until to date. Visiting the museum will be an opportunity to all the Egyptian community, as well as the foreign visitors, our guests, in order to explore several mysteries about the Egyptian persons' achievements in different wakes of life since the dawn of history until to date. Models, photos, manuscripts, oil paintings that dates back to the Pharaonic Stone Age, Coptic, Arabic era, until we reach the modern era. All of this will be showcased in this new museum. The rooms of the museum is multiple, on top of which is the central display room that highlights the achievements of the Egyptian civilization throughout different eras, and also the mummies display room is one of the most important halls, which will showcase the Egyptian mummies of kings and queens, and this room actually provides the visitor with a sense of the Valley of Kings, where those mummies had been discovered, coupled with the explanation to how all the ancient Egyptians practiced mummification. And now we go to the Tahrir Square, in particular to the Egyptian Museum, in order to follow up on the last preparations before the inauguration or the launch of the Royal Mummies Parade.
اليوم تم الافتتاح المتحف.
Today, NMEC, National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Fustat, is officially inaugurated by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The Egyptian Museum in Tahrir was inaugurated in 1902. For so many years, people visiting Egypt had the dream of visiting the pyramids, Sphinx, the different temples. They go back to their countries and tell all about this magnificent civilization that still baffles humankind. This civilization, ancient Egyptian civilization, was the pioneer of civility. It knew before anyone how to build a strong state, the foundation of which is science, knowledge, and faith. In a few moments, the parade will be launched. The streets of Cairo are waiting. The Golden Parade of the Royal Mummies. The once-in-a-lifetime event taking place on the land of Egypt. The great Egypt with the greatest civilization that was the gift to all mankind. The parade will start within moments, and the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization is all set and ready to receive the royal mummies. The Golden Parade of royal mummies is made up of 18 mummies for kings and 4 mummies for queens. Amenhotep II, 3rd, Ramses II and 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 9th, Seti the 2nd, Mariam Tahseptah, Queens Hatshepsut Ahmos Nefertari, Timerit Amun. Those are the royal mummies that will be heading from the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir to NMEC in Al Fustat.
السيد الرئيس
His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Arab Republic of Egypt.
Sisi, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt.
السيد الرئيس
His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Egypt, August attendees, it's an honor for me to be here with you on board in order to introduce a long-awaiting event that is being followed with passion with Egypt history, with its civilization and gloriousness, passion with its past and present. The work that is taking place on the territory of Egypt stands as a testimony to what is taking place, as a sign to the state's efforts in order to restore and showcase the Egyptian monuments, that simultaneously goes hands in hands in the other mega projects. And at the same time, Egypt is building state-of-the-art museums such as this edifice that we are standing in, Egyptian Civilization National Museum, which is one of the most important museums worldwide, that is designated to only one civilization. Today is going to receive 22 royal mummies under the auspicious and presence of His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, 22 royal mummies that are going to take their last and final golden trip from the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square in order to rest at its final destination, which is the Egyptian Civilization National Museum in Fustat. Those are grandiose efforts that had been taking place by the state of Egypt, and today we are reaping the fruit of those efforts.
قد إيه كان المصريين القدماء عظماء، قد إيه كان علمهم قوي ومعرفتهم بلا حدود وذكائهم خطير جدا. كل اللي عملوه ده والتاريخ طفل بيحبي. إمحتب المهندس المصري العظيم، الوزير وكبير الكهنة واللي أصبح إله للطب بعد كده، هو اللي صمم وبنى المجموعة الجنائزية دي من 4700 سنة فاتوا، 2700 قبل الميلاد، عشان يكون أول وأقدم بناء معماري حجري في التاريخ. بعد توقف دام 6 سنوات بدأ العمل مرة تانية على ترميم هرم زوسر ليعود لهيئته المهيبة، ويتم افتتاحه في 5 مارس 2020. أطعم الخبز لمن لا حقل له، واترك وراءك أثراً طيباً يبقى أبد الدهر. الأثر اللي سابه لنا المصريين من 4400 سنة وهنشوف دلوقتي هو مقبرة وحدي اللي اتحفرت جوه الجبل 300 سنة بعد هرم زوسر، والاكتشاف وإعداد المقبرة اللي هتشوفوها دلوقتي كان في ديسمبر 2018. إحساس لا يوصف لما تدخل المقبرة وتشوف دقة النقوش والألوان. 65 تمثال منحوت في الجبل.
احنا شايفين ان المقبرة دي مقبرة عائلية. احنا بنتكلم على عمق 10 متر تقريبا، بنتكلم على 3 متر عرض، بنتكلم على مناظر من الحياة اليومية من أجمل ما يكون. ما يميز المقابر عن غيرها بدقة تفاصيل مناظر الحياة اليومية.
منطقة كوم الشقافة من أهم المناطق الأثرية في الإسكندرية.
I'm very excited to show you this place today because unlike so many decades past, we used to go inside and smell the humidity and see a lot of water, and there was even a part of the tomb that was completely inaccessible. In 2017, a very ambitious project started to do a complete pump out of the waters from here and drying up this place. 2 years, they finally managed to completely lower the water level that was completely affecting and endangering this catacomb. And this project was inaugurated in 2019.
معبد اليهودي في اسكندرية بناه المصريين في القرن ال14. مصر رممت هذا المكان وتم افتتاحه في 2020. أستاذة ماجدة هارون، أول مرة تدخلي معبد الياهو هامبي في اسكندرية بعد ترميمه؟
لا، أنا كنت هنا في الافتتاح.
إحساسك كان إيه؟
إحساسي كان بصراحة كنت بعيط من الفرحة. بدأت بتهتم بيا.
الدورة دي فيها حجارة أنا ملاحظ مختلفة عن بقية المعبد.
دي أنقاض المعبد القديم، وهم بيرمموا اكتشفوا يعني الفتحة دي ما كانتش موجودة.
أكرم أباك وأمك، لا تخطئ، لا تزني، لا تسرق، لا تشهد على قريبك شهادة زور، لا تشتهي ما يملكه جارك، لا تنطق باسم الإله الرب باطلا. الاسم بتاعها كنيسة السيدة العذراء، إنما الأشهر
المعلقة،
معروفة الكنيسة المعلقة. أولاً ليه سموها كنيسة معلقة؟
سميت بالكنيسة المعلقة لأنها بنيت على برجين من أبراج حصن بابليون، اللي هو كان حصن روماني بيرجع للقرن الثاني الميلادي. فالترميم الأخير ترميم شامل، قاموا بترميم هيكل التحتي والبنية التحتية للكنيسة وشفط المياه. قبل الترميم كانت المياه بتغمر الحصن، ما كانش ممكن حد يخش فيه يعني على ارتفاع كبير.
كان في مياه ما حدش يقدر يخش من البوابة دي.
طبعا.
الحضارة هي إن يبقى عندك حرية تمارس عبادتك في وجود عبادات أخرى يعتقدها آخرون. على هذه الأرض كل يوم تمارس حرية الأديان، كل واحد له الحق يمارس ما يعتقد. الكنيسة المعلقة كانت أول مقر بابوي لبابا الإسكندرية بعد انتقالها من الإسكندرية للقاهرة. بتضم العديد من رفات القديسين، أيقونات المسيح عليه السلام والسيدة مريم. تم افتتاح الكنيسة المعلقة مرة أخرى للزوار بعد ترميمها في 2014.
كنيسة المغارة للشاهدين سرجيوس وواخس، الشهيرة بكنيسة أبي سرجة مصر القديمة، بتعتبر من الكنائس المهمة في مصر في رحلة العائلة المقدسة. كنيسة اتبنت في أوائل القرن الخامس الميلادي أو أواخر القرن الرابع الميلادي، اتبنت فوق المغارة اللي احتمت فيها العائلة المقدسة. الكنيسة مبنية على الطراز البازيليكي وترممت مراحل عديدة في التاريخ، لكن من أعظم مراحل الترميم اللي تمت في العصر الحديث تم ترميم الكنيسة ترميم شامل لكل الحوائط اللي هي الجزء الإنشائي وبعدين الجزء المعماري في التشطيبات بتاعتها بموافقة هيئة الآثار. وجي قداسة البابا تودرس الثاني افتتح الكنيسة في 2016.
اعمل لدنياك كأنك تعيش أبداً، واعمل لآخرتك كأنك تموت غداً. بهذا المكان الرمز التعبد من أجل الحصول على لقاء كريم مع الله في الآخرة، والتعبد من أجل حياة أفضل عن طريق الحصول على العلم. الأزهر، الجامع والجامعة. الله أكبر. الجامع اتبنى 970 يعني في أواخر القرن
العاشر. أيوة.
وخلص في سنتين.
أيوة.
يعني افتتح 972.
أيوة. أقيمت أول صلاة فيه 7 رمضان الموافق 21 يونيو 972. الترميم الأخير اللي حصل من 2015 ل 2018 لحد ما افتتحوا فخامة الرئيس السيسي مع صاحب السمو الملكي محمد بن سلمان، افتتحوه يوم 6 مارس 2018. كانت كل حتة في الجامع تم الاهتمام بيها.
متحف الفن الإسلامي هو أكبر متحف للآثار الإسلامية على مستوى العالم. في يناير 2014 تعرضت منطقة المتحف لهجمة إرهابية دمرت واجهة المتحف وأكثر من 170 قطعة أثرية من مقتنياته. بعد كده تم تجميعها وترميمها بأيادي مصرية إلى أن تم إعادة افتتاحه في 2017. مسجد الفتح بحي عابدين واحد من أجمل المساجد اللي بتبرز فنون العمارة الإسلامية. ترميم المسجد شمل كل جوانبه علشان يرجع لصورته الأصلية، وفي 2020 أصبح جاهز بعد 3 سنين كاملة من الترميم. ده متحف المركبات الملكية في بولان. أنشأه الخديوي إسماعيل في القرن ال19 عشان يكون في البداية جراج للمركبات الملكية. بعد كده اتحول لمتحف من أهم متاحف مصر السياحية.
المبنى كان مهمل، كان تعبان جدا لغاية الحمد لله ما اترمم افتتحوا السيد الرئيس في 31 أكتوبر 2020. المتحف ده يعتبر من أهم المتاحف النوعية في العالم.
هنا قصر البارون، أحد الشواهد على تاريخ حي مصر الجديدة.
أنا اسمي عنتر جاد الكريم أحمد عبد الله، من مواليد أسوان، عندي 79 سنة. هنا أصلاً خالي كان شغال طباخ القصر، وأنا كنت صغير معاه، وكنت عايش في القصر برضه. أول مرة دخلت هنا فيها، فأنا عايز أشوف اللي فوق إيه. فكان في حفلة عندنا هنا، فانتهزت فرصة رحت طالع على فوق، هم كلهم تحت. طلعت أنا بقى فوق، ونزلت كلت علقة من خالي تحت، لأن ممنوع أطلع بقى فوق هنا.
القرار الخاص بإنقاذ هذا المبنى. سنة 2017 بدأت عملية الترميم واستمرت لحد ما قام فخامة الرئيس بافتتاح المشروع عام 2020. عملية الترميم للمبنى التاريخي دوت انقسمت لمرحلتين، المرحلة الأولى اللي هو تدعيم الأساسات. بعد كده الجزء الثاني بقى اللي هو عملية ترميم العناصر الزخرفية اللي موجودة. الاستخدام الآخر احنا عملناه معرض بيحكي قصة تاريخ مصر الجديدة بالكامل. تم توفير 175 مليون جنيه لهذا المبنى لترميم المبنى وإنقاذه ثم إعادة تأهيله.
عام 2020 تم تطوير ميدان التحرير، أشهر ميادين مصر المرتبطة بتواريخ خالدة في حياة المصريين. قريب قوي هيقدر كل زائر يشوف الطريق التاريخي العظيم، طريق الكباش. ولأول مرة متاحف آثار في شرم الشيخ والغردقة من أجل زوار المدينتين. متحف الحضارة بيحكي تاريخ الحضارات اللي نشأت على أرض مصر. والنهاردة يتم افتتاح قاعة العرض المركزي وقاعة المومياوات. الأهرامات أشهر موقع أثري في التاريخ بعد تطويره. والآن يترقب الجميع الإعلان عن موعد تاريخ افتتاح المتحف المصري الكبير، أكبر متحف لحضارة واحدة في العالم. فلنجمع تراثنا قبل أن يلحقنا الموت لنسلمه لأبنائنا. دكتور خالد العناني، إزاي نشأت فكرة متحف العواصم؟
الفكرة نشأت من أكتر من سنتين لما السيد رئيس الجمهورية وجه بإنشاء مدينة للثقافة والفنون، وقال إن أول حاجة تتعمل فيها متحف. ما لقيناش أحلى من فكرة متحف عواصم مصر، بنحكي فيه أهم العواصم اللي مرت على مصر.
نفسي طبعا نشوف بعين حضرتك كل الكلام اللي بتقول عليه ده داخل المتحف، بس حضرتك رفضت.
لا، هي مفاجأة. المتحف ده مفاجأة كبيرة احنا محضرينها. هنخلي الضيف المصري والأجنبي اللي هيجي هنا في العاصمة الجديدة نقول له قد ايه ان احنا معتزين بتاريخنا وحضارتنا، وان اول حاجه اصبحت جاهزه بنسبه 100% النهارده في مدينه الثقافه والفنون هي المتحف والمكتبه. ليه؟ لان احنا قلنا العاصمه الجديده تساوي دوله جديده مبنيه على العلم والثقافه والفنون.
المصري طول عمره بنا شاطر. المصريين بيبنوا والبنى بيعيش آلاف السنين والأجيال. مصر بتبذل جهود جبارة للحفاظ على آثارها لكل الإنسانية، وفي نفس الوقت بتبني الجديد اللي بيتعمل النهاردة بيصنع التاريخ والمستقبل.
How beautiful is our country, how great is our history. A sense of pride of the treasures all over Egypt. This pride is even intensified by the presence of an aware political leadership represented by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. A political leadership keen on representing Egypt in the best way possible, creating a future filled with opportunities for all Egyptians while preserving the history and heritage of Egypt to the future generations and to the whole of mankind. Such efforts have borne fruit in an unprecedented time because This was done by experts and professionals in all fields. Dear guests, please welcome with me His Excellency Dr. Khaled Al-Anani, the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities.
In the name of Allah, most compassionate, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Egypt, ladies and gentlemen, guests of Egypt, millions of those who are lovers of the Egyptian civilization in Egypt and worldwide. The movie only showed the case a very tiny bit of the whole file of the civilization efforts, and the documentary was only showcasing how we took interest in all of the civilizations regardless of the historical era, religion or geographic location. Throughout the past few years we were able to open and develop more than 20 museums, restore more than 100 monumental sites. The Grand Egyptian Museum took a leap, and it is about to be completed. The number of monumental excavations exceeded 30 pre-corona that actually led to very important monumental explorations, behind which whole generations of archaeologists, restorators, and I have the honor to work with this team. I would like to note that during the coming phase, openings of museums or sites shall be successful. And we completed 100% of the Egyptian museum in the new administrative capital, and we have a notable advancement in Muhammad Ali Museum and also in the Greco-Roman Museum in Alexandria, and we are working on the festival or the celebration of the global event of opening the Grand Egyptian Museum, in which we have a whole host of Egyptians and public figures as well as foreign figures, leaders of the world, to attend this celebration. Your Excellency, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to your constant support to the tourism, your personal and constant support and monitoring of the file, the financial support that is unprecedented designated to the tourism file, and also you adopted the idea of organizing the mummies parade. When I introduced it to you, introduced this idea to you in 2019, and you were very clear that the event will come to light adequately and cover all of the points of the journey of this parade. And the most important point is that you honored us with your attendance. It's a civilization unique tourism in Egypt. It is unprecedented and it will not be recurrent. That actually underscores that the Egyptian state puts our civilization on top of its priorities, and it takes pride in our predecessors. So during the past few days, nothing that over-echoes the mummies parade. And we have 400 cameras, Egyptian journalists and news agencies, and I'm sure and certain that this event will promote Egyptian tourism worldwide, and also it will connect more between the Egyptians and our tourism. We have 4 champions of this event, 22 mummies of kings and queens, led by Skenan Ra, who actually launched the war against Hyksos, after which other mummies, and they are taking the final journey, and they were prepared properly. What do you mean by this final journey? Did they move before? Yes, they moved several times. So during some weak eras, they were collected and they were buried in 2 caches in Luxor. And when they have been discovered at the end of the 19th century, they moved to Bulaq. And after that, it had been moved to a palace in Giza. After that, it had been moved to Al Tahrir Museum until 1902, until 1930, where they actually moved to the tomb of Saad Zaghloul. So today we are giving them the final journey. They will be displayed properly, scientifically, that provides them with the necessary awe. Everybody asks me the question, why the mummies did not go to the Grand Museum and to the NMEC. When the cultural leaders thought about it, they considered creating a museum by the pyramids with a champion Amun and another museum with the champion of the royal mummies. So the tourism is going to go to Al-Tahrir Museum to see all the main artifacts, and then to these NMEC in order to watch the Egyptian mummies. And I would like to thank them very much for the idea of creating those grand museums. The idea of setting up the museum had been set up in 1980, and I would like to welcome Her Excellency, head of the UNESCO, and the two ministries of tourism, the Saudi and the Greek. And then the founding stone had been put in 2002, but it stopped in 2011, and the inauguration of the temporary hall had been inaugurated then. NMEC is a grand project. However, I'd like to tell you that all what you see is Egyptian design. My archaeologists and monuments, my colleagues in the ministry, actually, they are in charge of this display, and I would like to thank very much the armed forces body of the projects. And today His Excellency the President inaugurated the Central Hall, which tells the Egyptian civilization throughout the eras, and also the Mummies Hall received the sacrovage. However, we are going to open it to the public in 18th of April, because the mummies need some preparation until they are displayed to the public. The third champion after the mummies and the NMEC is the Tahrir Museum, which had been inaugurated in 1902, and I would like to reassure you that it will not die, but rather it will be restored. But the major champion that embraces all of us is Cairo, the beautiful Cairo that is dressed in a new garment, impressive, dazzling. And I'd like to tell you that the Royal Mummies Parade contributed to the beautification of Cairo, because we developed all of the landmarks through which the parade shall pass under daily supervision of His Excellency Madbouli, the Prime Minister, and he took personal visits to all of those places, including the Egyptian Museum and the NMEC. And last but not least, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all of my colleagues in the government and all of the entities of the state that took part in the development efforts until this event came to light. And I would like to thank the Egyptian company that organized this unique event. And from here, I would like to stand and reassure the whole world that we know very well the value of our heritage, and we don't actually spare an effort in order to preserve it. I wish you to enjoy the Golden Parade of the mummies. Thank you very much.
And now the long-awaited moment, the cultural, historical event that is the most important for the year 2021, an unprecedented event where efforts were exerted by all state institutions and volunteers, the heads of the orchestra, the artists, decor designers, interior designers, directors, youths of universities. All of them are Egyptians who have volunteered to organize the event. Throughout months of continuous work, they cater to all artistic details. In just a few moments, we will witness the final and last movements and procession of the mummies throughout the streets of the Great Cairo. Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, we are about to start the Golden Parade of the Royal Mummies.
أنا اللي لعمري يوم كليت ولا مليت، أنا اللي في وش زمني وقفت ولا اتهزيت، أنا الفكرة اللي عايشة سنين، أنا الموضوع، أنا الصوت اللي وقت الصمت كان مسموع. عمري يوم كليت ولا مليت، أنا اللي في وش زمني وقفت ولا اتهزيت، أنا الفكرة اللي عايشة سنين، أنا الموضوع، أنا الصوت اللي وقت الصمت كان مسموع. مستحيل تتعد حضارة عمرها ما تموت، تاريخ عمره بعمر الأرض، أنا الشمس اللي بعدت نور ونورت الطريق للكون، أنا مصر اللي من غيري ميزان الدنيا دي يختلف. أنا كل الفروع والأصل ولي أثر في كل مكان، أنا الشمس اللي بعتت نور ونورت الطريق للكون، أنا مصر اللي من غيري ميزان الدنيا دي يختلف. أنا اللي في وش زمني وقفت ولا اتهزيت، أنا الصوت اللي وقت الصمت كان مسموع.
Great. The miracle of ancient Egyptians is that they are great, even according to modern standards. Given all the advancements achieved by the human race in sciences, in arts, yet the ancient Egyptian civilization is still capable of mesmerizing us by all its mystery and secrets that are uncovered day by day. And to this day, its discoveries echo across the whole world. And when we head to any destination and we say we're Egyptians, people's eyes sparkle. And with a voice full of enthusiasm, they say Egypt, the land of enchantment, the land of beauty, the land of history. When people from all over the world seek the roots of civilization, they end up here in Egypt, al-Dunya, mother of the world. The Pyramid of Cheops, the most significant of the 7 wonders of the world, standing tall for over 4,500 years, and to this day scientists and scholars find it an unresolved mystery. How were the Egyptians able to build something as grand and meticulous as such, with tools considered to be less than primitive compared to the technology of today? The answer is simple. Egyptians were able to build this giant edifice with intellect, with knowledge and skills, and more importantly, creed and faith, belief, faith. Those are the true secrets of immortality. Well, those are the Egyptians, simply. Across millennia, people from all over the world have been arriving here just to visit this great monument, the construction of which is considered an architectural miracle of a genius architect and an inspirational artisan, intricately using an exceptional palette of radiant colors and inscriptions. Deir el-Bahari Temple, built by Queen Hatshepsut, the most prominent queens of Egypt and the whole world, built 3,500 years ago in the embrace of the mountain in West Luxor. Hatshepsut testifies to the greatness of Egyptian women, their cleverness, skillfulness, wisdom, and resilience. During her reign, architecture and construction flourished, and her remarkable monuments stand tall to this day. And so she's the origin of the Egyptian proverb, a woman as strong as 100 men.
The Egyptian proverb also said that Egypt is extremely fertile, and as it provides talent and creativity, civilization and culture, that's why Egypt is rich in antiquities, because it's the first land that experienced stability and prosperity. Maybe one of the most famous discoveries that mismurmured the world on the land of Egypt was the tomb of the young pharaoh Tutankhamun. The archaeologists discovered the entire contents of the tombs. The mummy was mummified, very well preserved in its unique sarcophage, and its golden mask is still glowing as it was just crafted yesterday. Just imagine one single tomb is holding more than 5,000 artifacts. Most certainly we need to be exhibited in a grand museum, just like the one we are witnessing. It is going to be displayed first in the Grand Egyptian Museum, which is the largest cultural and civilization project in the 21st century on the land of Egypt.
For thousands of years, people have been wondering how ancient Egyptians managed to build such a great civilization. How could they sculpt architectural marvels out of rocky mountains using just some primitive tools? How was the pyramid built? The sun aligns itself on the face of Ramses at a specific time every year. But how? For thousands of years, people have wondered what's the secret of the ancient Egyptians, until about 200 years ago, when Champollion, the French Egyptologist, finally managed to decipher the hieroglyphic scripts through the Rosetta Stone. The truth was so simple yet so astounding. The mystery of ancient Egyptians is not in a papyrus, nor is it inscribed on a mural. Their secret is not limited to their knowledge of astronomy, medicine, or engineering. The greatest secret behind ancient Egyptians lies right here in the heart. A deeply rooted creed and faith resided within the heart of the ancient Egyptian, marked by values of love, justice, good, and peace. The ancient Egyptian believed in the concept of Ma'ad, the universal order, which favors good, truthfulness, justice, and equality, rejects chaos, evil, and injustice. Ancient Egyptians believed in the concept of reward and retribution, as well as life after death and final judgment. Not only did ancient Egyptians master engineering, medicine, and mummification, but through their faith and creed, the ancient Egyptians possessed the key to life itself.
Ancient Egyptians understood the soul, and they had faith in the purity and eternity, and they understood that the body is a trust and they have to maintain it when the soul departs to its creator. All the construction, building, and architecture, astronomy, and all the mummification mystery was all motivated with the faith in verity, justice, resurrection, accountability, and immortality, hoping for an afterlife, an ideal life void of conflicts and evil, an eternal heaven accommodating those who have done good.
If we look around to everything that we've accomplished, we will realize that everything started out merely as an idea, a seed that sprouted within one's imagination, one who had a dream of shaping life differently. His belief in the idea pushed him to strive to achieve it. Through knowledge and skillfulness, he turned the dream into reality. Imagination and creativity are the secrets behind history's first integral stone building and the first pyramid-shaped construction ever known to mankind. Through imagination and creativity, ancient Egyptians have adapted their knowledge, their skills, and their resources, as said in colloquial Egyptian language, to get ready for the afterlife, to leave a legacy of everlasting monuments and timeless antiquities, an absolute miracle of engineering and architecture. Yet the inscriptions there are our true heritage. These are the voice of the human living conscience that attests to our pure instincts ever since the beginning of creation.
The faith of ancient Egyptians created their civilization, built their nation, the oldest fully integrated civilization known to history. The faith and doctrine fortified their power, and their army was by far one of the most powerful armies. It protects and safeguards people in honor, and their antiquities that are still standing tall is a witness of their greatness that emerged from their faith, and their civilization is recounted throughout history as a glory humans take pride in, and along the course it shall remain as the compass, the energy source of inspiration for all humanity.
حصانة العينين صلبة القدم في الأرض كالجبل وفي السماء للذرى وللقمم مصر لم تنم ما خر سورها العتيد من هدم من هار شعبها العظيم من هزم ولم يزل مزودا بأعرق القيم متوج الأمل في الأرض كالهرم وفي السماء في السماء للذرى وللقمم Jones, Helu tua